Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to Grapperinos, the wrestling pizzeria where we serve you a slice of probably next week on Raw. I'm Bryon, and joining me in this endeavor is someone who sees the vision. Mike, say hi, Mike.
I am
I got
also
nothing.
I'm also petitioning that we fire Logan Paul. I think we should fire
Oh,
Logan Paul. Yeah, we should
do
fire
you
Logan
believe in
Paul.
Joe Hendry?
I do believe in Joe Hendry. Yes.
Damn,
Yep.
nice. Why do you feel Logan Paul needs to be fired?
Um. I don't know. I think because it makes a really good song. This is why we need to fire Logan
It
Paul.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what rivalry is next for Joe Hendry once we're all set with Logan Paul. Maybe he can feud with Danhausen. He can sing a song about Danhausen.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he can feud with Danhausen. I think I don't know where Joe Hendry goes, to be honest with you, but I
Yeah,
yeah, it's good to have him on the main
yeah,
roster finally.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I followed Joe Hendry since the Indies, so yeah, he is one to look out for. I think he's got a bright future in the company, and as long as he keeps on doing his thing, I think the people will stay, you know, attached to him. I don't know. I don't know what to say at that point. I think even as a heel, even as a bad guy, I think Joe Hendry has really good stuff up his sleeve. So when it comes to songs, So anyway, we're talking about not Joe Hendry, of course. Joe Hendry is part of the Monday Night Raw roster, which is the show that we are talking about on this show, where we try to predict the next episode of Monday Night Raw. And we try to do so according or even, along the lines of these brand new rules. For those of you who didn't watch the initial episode, well, we added some new rules. We are now including backstage segments and ad-free segments. We're also adding in, debuts and other things in there, but the rules stay mostly the same. And after we tell you what we think will happen on the next episode of Monday Night Raw in our predictions and bookings, we will then watch the next episode of Monday Night Raw, and we will score our predictions and bookings based on this new scoring system. And yeah, this has a lot of the changes here. It has to be an exact match, okay, from our prediction to what happens on the screen has to be the same. And I did change some things regarding what gets scored from the matches to the promos and all that stuff. And we'll see. Maybe we'll add some new stuff into the system later on. But for right now, that is the system that we are going to score our predictions and bookings. And then after that, we tell you what we got on the next episode of the show. So let's get to last week's scores based on our last week's predictions. I only have 2 points. 2 points. And I think the only thing that happened that was exactly how it happened prediction wise, excuse me, is the Vision promo where Joe Hendry sang a song about Logan Paul and Logan Paul got mad. Yeah, that's we had Division appearing, and then we had Logan Paul, or sorry, not Logan Paul, Joe Hendry appearing. So that's what I got my 2 points on. What about you, Mike?
I got 3 points. I got three segments right. I got a backstage segment with OG El Grande Americano and Julio and Bruno. I got Rusev versus Javon Evans, correct? Javon Evans won that match. And I also got a backstage segment with both of the Usos as well in that show. So,
Nice. Yeah, pretty good. So that new scoring system is to avoid any sort of large gaps. I want to make it stricter so that the scores actually mean something instead of just half points and whatever nonsense. So we'll see how good it is, and how we'll try to change it along the lines as this quote unquote season goes on. So we'll see. What is announced for the next episode of Monday Night Raw? Well, we got a couple. We got Brie Bella and Paige going up against Judgment Day for the Women's Tag Team Championship. And we also have a brand new challenger for Oba Femi to squash in 5 minutes. So, surely a great episode of Monday Night Raw is awaiting us on Monday. So, without further ado, let's book this thing and get to my version of the show first as Jacob Fatu walks to the ring. He talks about choking out Roman Reigns last week. He says that he wants that championship, nay, needs that championship. And Roman found out that Jacob Fatu is all gas, no brakes, not only at Backlash, but last week on Monday Night Raw, if you know what I mean. He then challenges Roman to another match at Clash in Italy for Roman's championship, but does not want the same chicanery that resulted in Roman winning that match at Backlash. He wants it to be a no DQ match. He is then interrupted by the Usos, who tell Jacob that Roman is not here because of what Jacob did last week. They say that they are also not happy with what Jacob did because Jacob is family, and Roman is also family, and you don't do that to family. Jacob tells them to shut up and tells them that they are just lapdogs for Roman, and Roman is not really the nicest caretakers of lapdogs, let's just say. He wants a match with either one of the Usos if Roman is not here tonight, and Jey steps up and accepts Jacob's challenge. That match is announced by Adam Pearce to be the main event for tonight. So, we'll see what happens then and what that bodes for Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. I will say more about this later. But for now, let's move on to Judgment Day versus Brie Bella and Paige for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I think that Brie and Paige win this match by pinfall. After the match, we will have the Irresistible Forces come out to congratulate Brie Bella and Paige, only to attack them, taking their titles and raising it for the audience to see. I think this is the next feud between Brie Bella and Paige and the Irresistible Forces as we head into Clash in Italy and potentially SummerSlam. I do think that Brie Bella and Paige are going to have a decent title reign just because of the whole Paige nostalgia tour, and at least until Nikki Bella comes back, and then we could probably have a breakup where Paige gets kicked out and Nikki Bella's like, yo, I'm cleared now, whatever, get the hell out of here, Paige, you're just here to replace me when I was injured, so get the hell out. And I don't know if Paige is going to stick around for this, but I think they are going to have a decent title reign, her and Brie Bella. That will last a few months, hopefully until the whole breakup deal with Nikki Bella and Lyra Valkyria and Bayley can take it from them. I think Lyra and Bayley needs to have the title at this point, so there you go. Moving on to the first backstage segment, which is another Finn Balor sneak attack. So last week, we had Finn Balor attacking JD McDonough, and now, this week, we will have Finn Balor attack JD again, but this time, Dom rushes after Finn. He is angry that Finn has done it again, and he lands a few blows on him before Finn gets away, angering Dom. So I think, obviously, this rivalry between Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor is not yet over. I think there will be another match, and I guess an Extreme Rules match maybe, or a TLC match, something more no DQ, a street fight, I guess, at SummerSlam. So I think that will sort of cap off that feud. Potentially, we could have another Judgment Day member leaving after that match, like JD McDonough, I guess. He is kind of tired of being attacked by Finn Balor. So, yeah, I think that is what will happen between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. But we'll see. Moving on to Logan Paul versus Montez Ford. This is to build up the match between Street Profits and Division at Saturday night's main event for the Tag Team Championships. Yeah, did you know that Saturday night's main event is happening next week? I didn't either. So, there you go. I guess we have a Saturday night's main event next week. Hooray. Can't wait for the ads. Logan Paul wins by pinfall after a distraction by Seth Rollins, which results in Braun Breaker attacking Seth, which caused a brawl outside the ring. After the match, Division beat up the Street Profits, but the Street Profits are saved by, I believe, Injo Hendry, who comes in with a guitar. He attacks Division. Braun then comes back from the brawl and spears Joe Hendry. He howls like a wolf as the segment comes to a close. So I think on Saturday night's main event, I think Division will retain against the Street Profits so that they can get some more momentum on top of Braun winning his match against Seth Rollins at Backlash. Potentially, I could see Seth intervening in the match, but I think that Division need the win more than the Street Profits do. Unless they want to give it to the Street Profits so that, you know, they're a legitimate tag team and they could put all the other tag teams on Raw up against the Street Profits, I guess. But I don't think they care about the tag team division that much at this point. So I think Division will retain here and, I don't know, maybe carry this rivalry to SummerSlam and beyond. So there you go. Up next, or I guess after that, we got a Penta versus Ethan Page contract signing for the Intercontinental Championship match at Saturday night's main event, which is also an announced match for that event. Penta comes out, he does the usual spiel about working hard and getting the championship because he is the man of the people and Cero Miedo. He signs the contract. Ethan Page then comes out, he says that Penta isn't deserving of the title because he isn't Ethan Page. Page doesn't have to do a lot to get that championship, and at Saturday night's main event, he will get the title from Penta with the least amount of effort because Penta is just a pushover, and he will represent the greatest nation on earth, debatably, Canada, whose citizens can speak English, by the way, with a champion that Canada can finally be proud of, so those Canucks can, go fuck themselves or something. He signs the contract. Penta then causes a brawl with Ethan that ends with Page being slammed through a table and Penta Cero Miedoing him. I think in this match, Penta will retain. I think Ethan Page is way too early and they'll probably settle him up with other lower card feuds, probably with Rusev or Javon Evans. You know, mix him up with those people. And then we'll have a rematch somewhere around Survivor Series or next year. So I do think Ethan Page will get there. I just think it's too quick. So yeah, I don't think the crowd is kind of behind Ethan Page at this point. I don't think he's a sort of lovable heel or even a heel that the people kind of appreciate. So I think they'd rather sort of just cool him down a little bit, throw him into some more feuds, and then, do that, I guess. If they give it to Ethan Page, then that would be great. I just don't think the company will do it because they're high on Penta right now. So, anyway, we'll move on to the Oba Femi Open Challenge. Who comes out to challenge Oba Femi? Well, last week we had Angel and Berto. He kind of dragged them out to fight them, and they got squashed in 5 minutes. So I will have, on the high of Rusev winning his match last week, I will have Rusev come out to challenge Oba Femi. And I think that, Rusev is a big man, so is Oba Femi. So that would be a great match. So I'm going to have Rusev and Oba Femi last like 10 minutes or so. And then, goodbye Rusev, take a 50% pay cut or go fuck yourself, like the New Day.
I'm pretty sure Javon Evans won last week, Brian.
Javon?
Yeah, I think Javon won last week. instead of Rusev.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought Rusev won last week.
No, I think Javon won last week.
Okay. Well, the rest of my statement still applies. Go take a pay cut or get out of here, Rusev. Anyway, we'll move on to the next backstage segment as the Street Profits get an interview. The Street Profits are interviewed after their loss, and they say that it won't matter because they will get the tag team titles at Saturday Night's Main Event because they are up and they want the smoke. They are then confronted by Paul Heyman, who says that they may want the smoke, but they will never get the smoke because the Vision are on fire right now. At Saturday Night's Main Event, Logan and Austin will prove that they are a better team that puts food in their families' tables than the Street Profits ever will. He walks away, and this angers the Street Profits, but they're like, "Hey, you know what? Let's use this as motivation. We gotta be better than them. We gotta be better than the Vision. We'll have a better vision than the Vision." I don't know. They'll probably just look at each other and be like, "Yo, we need to do better." So again, I think that the Vision will retain because fuck the tag team division. So whatever. Io Sky versus Becky Lynch is after that. This happens because of what happened last week in a backstage segment between Becky and Io. I think Becky Lynch wins by a surprise roll-up, and after the match, she runs away raising her championship at Io, as Io stares angrily at her from the ring. I think this will lead to an eventual feud between the two at SummerSlam, where Io can potentially take that Women's Intercontinental Championship from Becky Lynch. So, again, I'm using more kind of building steps towards SummerSlam instead of Saturday Night's Main Event and Clash in Italy. So, I'd rather sort of build it up to SummerSlam because SummerSlam is a bigger event than Clash in Italy or Saturday Night's Main Event. But I understand that we also gotta build Saturday Night's Main Event because that's on Saturday, but yeah, whatever. Main event time as Jey Uso takes on Jacob Fatu. And I will have Jacob Fatu win by pinfall. After the match, Jimmy comes out. I'm kind of copying and pasting this from last week, but whatever. Jimmy comes out, he checks on Jey Uso, and then Jimmy tells Jacob to stop. Jacob pushes Jimmy, and then Jimmy pushes back, causing a brawl between the two. Jacob, however, wins the brawl. He grabs a mic and says that he wants Roman to come back next week so he can acknowledge the fact that this isn't over until Jacob gets the championship. And he wants it at Clash in Italy in a no DQ match. Probably a street fight, I guess. Jacob walks away as the show goes off the air. So I think Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns is not yet over. We are going to have a rematch, and it will be a Clash in Italy. But I think Roman retains unless we're setting up the Usos turning on Roman to join Jacob. But I don't think there are any signs that the Usos are joining Jacob. I think we need more pieces, kind of crumbs, put in the Usos. And we'll probably have more scenes where Jacob kind of makes them doubt aligning with Roman. And sort of saying, hey, it's not a good idea to ally with Roman. Maybe you should join me. And, the combat Roman or whatever. And we'll have that sort of happen at Survivor Series or something. And then at the end of the year, we'll have a brand new bloodline with Jacob Fatu on top, I guess. I don't know. But that is what I think will happen. And that is my booking for the show. Any questions?
So, seeing as I believe that Stephanie Vauquier is still healing up from an injury, that match is likely happening at Clash in Italy as well.
Stephanie versus Liv?
Yes. Who do you think is next for Liv Morgan? Because it doesn't really seem like she has many opponents, and I'm just curious as to why you think that Io is going after Becky Lynch. I mean, to me, it seemed like that they were going to do Sol Ruca versus Becky Lynch, and then they're going to push Io back into the main event scene to feud with Liv going into SummerSlam.
So I was thinking based on that sort of backstage segment between Becky and Io, I will say that kind of Sol Ruka is after Io. Um, I would rather have Sol kind of be. I don't think the Sol Ruka and Becky feud isn't helping her. So I would rather slot her in other women's feuds to kind of build her stock a little bit. And then after that, she can challenge Becky Lynch for the championship at a later point, maybe Survivor Series or something like that. I think Io Sky versus Becky Lynch potentially could be a good match at SummerSlam. But I wouldn't mind it if we have Sol Ruka versus Becky Lynch at SummerSlam instead. And, Stephanie Vecker, obviously she's injured, as you said, and she could come back at a later date. I would have her come back after, let's just say, Sol Ruka versus Becky Lynch. I don't know. And we can have that rivalry back, I suppose. But yeah, I do think that Io Sky versus Becky Lynch could be a one-off. Could also be a feud going into SummerSlam. But if they really do want to keep Sol Ruka in the spotlight, they could at least put her up against Stephanie Vecker or some other woman who is along the lines of trying to get the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And, she could get that match later on at Survivor Series or something. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I just thought that they were, pushing Sol Ruka a lot harder because of that whole, signing promo they gave to her. But who knows at this point with this company? So,
I mean, yeah, if they decide to go with Sol Ruka versus Becky Lynch at SummerSlam, again, I don't mind it. I just feel like with Ethan Page, it may be too early.
Yeah.
And they might want to, pick their fights kind of carefully. Especially when you're building up to a big event like SummerSlam, so...
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm ready for my card. I have a
all right,
pretty big card, so let's get to it.
Pretty big? All right, let's get to it then. Starting off with...
We have the Judgment Day coming out for a promo. Liv comes out, says that she is still the greatest women's champion of all time. Probably says something about her music video that no one liked. And that Roxanne and Raquel are winning the titles back for the Judgment Day tonight. Io Sky then comes out and confronts Liv. Io says that she won the title before by herself, and repeats what many other opponents of Liv have said in the past, that Liv needs the Judgment Day to help her win, and that Liv can't win by her own. The Judgment Day then go ahead and try to ambush Io, but then Bree and Paige run out to assist in the brawl. I think that the way this is going, like I said a couple of seconds ago, is that Sol Ruka is going to feud with Becky Lynch, probably going into Clash in Italy, and Io Sky is probably going to be feuding with Liv going into SummerSlam.
Oh, SummerSlam.
Yes. I don't really see any other... the only other contender I can see is probably Stephanie Vaquer. But you saw with her... she's injured. You saw with her previous run. She kind of has the same problem Julia has, where if they don't have great... they can speak English. They just don't have great promo ability in English. And that really limits their ceiling for being a title holder. So I think Io does have a bit of a promo ability. I think people just like her because of her character. So, and not because she uses a Gunner move. I think that she can probably have a more interesting feud with Liv.
Sol Ruka, you mean?
Both of them do.
Sol Ruka doesn't have a Gunner move?
No. Does she?
Oh.
She's more flippy,
I don't
though.
think so.
No, she's more flippy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking about Stephanie.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. I assume you have more to say about this later because
yes.
we have okay. All right,
yes.
We'll move from that then to
We have the only other booked match tonight, the Women's World Tag Team Championship. This is Brie and Paige versus the Judgment Day, which is Roxanne Perez and Raquel. I think Brie and Paige win thanks to a disqualification from the Irresistible Forces. I think that they come out because they are granted a title fight at Saturday night's main event. So I think that they come out and they want Brie and Paige. They cause a DQ here. And I think they take it back at Saturday night's main event because, I think they need it back. They're much better with the titles. I mean, I think with Nikki Bella getting injured, it sort of derailed their plans a little bit. I think they need to reset and give it back to the Irresistible Forces, which is kind of awkward because we don't have a whole lot of women's face tag teams left. I mean, you still have Charlotte and Bliss. I don't know if Bailey and Lyra are still doing a tag team. And then you have, the Bella Twins who are, I guess, on the sideline because of Nikki's injury. And I don't know how much longer Paige is going to be here, so.
Yeah, you're kind of right about that. I think most of the women's tag team division are heels. I mean, even Fatal Influence, I guess you could slot them in for...
Oh, yes. Fatal Influence.
Yeah, they're heels. So it's like, what the hell,
the
man?
Newest iteration of the Pure Fusion Collective.
We don't know that yet, man. Let's give them like 2 months, and then we can assess
2 months?
right there.
Okay, all right, yes.
But yeah, I do agree with you that there are a lot of heels in the women's tag team division, and they may need to call up some folks from NXT if they even care. But I guess they don't. So yeah, I do agree with Irresistible Forces kind of, taking a hold on that, I guess. But I'm more lenient on Brie and Paige kind of holding it down, but whatever. It's whatever at this point if the Irresistible Forces hold it. We'll move on from that too.
First backstage segment of the night, Roman arrives to the arena with the Usos. Roman tells the Usos that he wants them in his corner tonight when he addresses Jacob Fatu and how he's finally going to deal with Jacob. So.
Okay. I assume you have more to say about this in a promo segment or whatever?
I do.
All right. Okay, we'll move on then from that too.
So, next, after this, we have a Becky Lynch promo. She puts down Sol Ruca after, Sol Ruca has been very disrespectful to the best women's wrestler on the roster. It's not just her saying this, it's everybody saying this. It's the Bleacher Report that says this. Sol Ruca comes out and she confronts...
Stephen A. Smith says it.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith says it. Sol Ruca comes out and she confronts Becky. A brawl ensues, and then Becky ends up on top. I think this is probably a feud going into Clash in Italy. And yeah.
Okay. Do you think Sol Ruca takes it, or is it too early for Sol?
I think it's too early for her. I think Becky holds it probably up until SummerSlam, where maybe Sol Ruca takes it back then.
Okay. That makes sense. It's a bigger event, bigger spotlight, so yeah, for sure. All right. I mean, I guess I'm assuming that there will be a rematch between Sol versus Becky at SummerSlam. But who do you think, considering Stephanie Becker being injured and all that, you might have said this earlier, but who do you think will be Sol Ruca's sort of first feud when she holds that Women's Intercontinental Championship?
Could be Julia if they move her to Raw. Could be Stephanie Becker. Could be Roxanne Perez, one of the Judgment Day members. Could be someone from Fatal Influence. Any other mid-card woman. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Makes sense. We'll move on from that to.
Oba Femi versus Javon Evans. So Javon Evans, fresh off of his dub last week against Rusev, decides to take up the open challenge against Oba Femi. Oba Femi wins not in a 5-second squash match, but somehow he takes it probably, I would say, maybe like a little bit longer. Like let's say like 8 minutes. Um, I think that Ethan Page and Rusev attempt to interfere on Javon, but Femi, being Oba Femi, decides, you know what, hey, fuck it, 3-for-1 special, and takes them out as well. But then Javon Evans eventually eats his finisher, and he and Oba Femi wins via pinfall. This show is in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is where Javon Evans is from. So I think it makes sense that he shows out against Oba Femi, but still loses because, I don't know, we have this thing where people lose in their hometown or whatever. I don't know. It's weird. Wouldn't you want them to win in their hometown? But yeah. I mean, I guess Trick won, so. But
I think John Cena even lost in his. Did he?
He won the IC belt against Dominic. Yeah, which was great.
But aside from that, it's losses when it's your hometown. So I've heard a lot of rumors, or not rumors, I guess, but opinions in the IWC that it seems that to them, WWE are botching Oba Femi, but with these open challenges anyway. Do you think they are botching Oba Femi with this open challenge thing? Or do you feel like this is working? Or would you rather have them just set up some actual stories for Oba to keep him occupied? Well, not keep him occupied, but, give him some legitimate competition by saying, he beat all these significant folks. Then he has a legitimate point to challenge Roman for the title at the end of the year. Like, what do you feel about Oba Femi's kind of booking right now?
So, being a WCW mark that I am, they are following basically almost the exact playbook that Goldberg did when he debuted in WCW, where they have him go up against a bunch of jobbers and absolutely dominate them night in, night out. Generates a lot of love from the fans for doing so because he's a big, powerful guy. The exact same thing that's happening with Oba Femi. Difference with Goldberg is I think he got the U.S. title first on his way, because he won the U.S. title and then worked his way up. I think he fought Scott Hall before fighting Hogan in the George Dome and winning the title.
This was pre-NWO.
And then he was a dual title holder. This was during NWO.
Oh,
this was during the NWO. Yeah. He was a dual title holder, I think, for a little bit. So I think they're probably gonna have him go after the IC title after this whole debacle with Ethan Page is over, and have him win that, just to give him something to do. Yeah. Because I think they want this Roman. Because I heard rumors that Roman got pulled off a lot of dates over the summer. So I think what's going to happen, not to spoil my thing later, but I think what will happen is Roman will have a match at Clash in Italy, and then he'll get written off of TV for a couple weeks until SummerSlam, and then maybe Oba Femi challenges him at SummerSlam for the title.
Oh.
That is where I think they're heading, and they need to give something to Oba Femi to do for a month and a half. So I think giving him the IC title might be good.
True.
So, and that's the Goldberg playbook if they're going to continue following that. So,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see though. I do have more questions about Roman Reigns and what you have in place, but we'll move on from that for now to
a backstage segments. So Joe Hendry backstage, maybe doing an interview with Kathy Kelly or something. I don't know. The Vision come in and lay out Joe Hendry.
Oh no!
On their way to their locker room. Yes, Joe Hendry will be made to disappear because the Vision attacked him. So,
does this mean that Joe Hendry comes back at Clash in Italy or something when someone says Joe Hendry and he appears?
I think he may help out during Saturday night's main event. I think the Street Profits probably take the titles, just because we need to legitimize this tag team division. If you want to talk about, I'll talk about this next actually. But if you want to talk about someone who they're absolutely fucking fumbling, is Braun Breaker. He's getting a worse deal than Oba Femi, I think, at this point.
Oh, really? You think they're fumbling Braun?
Yes, but I can talk about that.
Oh.
I do think so. I think we can talk about that in my next segment, which is a Street Profits promo. So, the Street Profits come out and lay out why they are going to beat the asses of the Vision on Saturday. They are attacked by the Vision fresh off of laying out Joe Hendry, so they have no help. The Street Profits they lose because of the numbers. Seth Rollins comes in late after the Street Profits have been laid out, and it manages to fend off Logan Paul and Austin Theory. The Street Profits don't trust him, and then he eats another spear. And then Braun Breaker tells Seth, this is not over. We still have a thing going on here. So this is why I think they are fumbling Braun Breaker. When he came in, he was booked super hot. He was booked like the next Goldberg, this big physical tough guy who was just splitting people in half. And yes, did part of it derail because of the Seth Rollins injury and the Vision breaking apart, literally and figuratively. Yeah, but having him stuck in a feud with Seth Rollins, where he basically beats Seth Rollins to a pulp every time, and then Seth Rollins somehow magically comes back, just makes him look dumb and stupid. I think the best way forward is for him to fight Seth in like a no DQ match, last man standing or something, and Seth gets written off TV, and then Braun goes after the main title. I think is probably the best way forward here. So.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing about Braun and Seth was that I feel like this was a sort of continuation of the whole, Braun turned on the Vision, or not Braun, Seth, or I guess Braun turned on Seth. Should be the proper sort of deal. This is sort of the continuation of that. But yeah, it kind of seems like they're sort of stretching this whole feud. I'm assuming that I do agree that, Braun and Seth has to end at some point. I feel like they're going to do another match between them at SummerSlam. Maybe make it like a street fight, and then Braun can win that match as well. And then that sort of raises his stock and legitimacy. But yeah, also, I think LA Knight was also contributing to Seth Rollins and his whole quest to get back at the Vision, but I guess LA Knight, just like Randy Orton, is on a milk carton, so whatever. Or, Randy Orton is actually injured, so I guess LA Knight is nowhere to be found, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, also, I don't know what happened to LA Knight. He is on the milk carton.
Yeah, I don't know. CM Punk also hasn't been on TV. A couple of people haven't been on TV. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're taking a vacation, which is fine, but, yeah. I do agree that Seth versus Braun needs to end at some point, so. Anyway, we'll move on from that to...
We have Finn Balor versus JD McDonagh. So, Finn Balor attacked JD last week to make sure that JD didn't help Dominic retain his title against El Grande Americano. I think that JD gets his receipt here, and Dominic comes out to help him win. JD picks up the win thanks to a roll-up, and I think that OG El Grande Americano runs out after to prevent the Judgment Day from beating down Finn Balor. So I think that Finn still runs with this storyline, trying to break up the Judgment Day, trying to influence Roxanne Perez and maybe Raquel to turn on Liv. So yeah.
Do you think this turn could potentially happen at SummerSlam, I suppose? Maybe in a women's tag team title match or something? I don't know.
I think what eventually breaks it, I think Roxanne leaves at SummerSlam, and I think what happens is that Liv probably retains at SummerSlam, and then Raquel wins either the Rumble or probably Elimination Chamber or some other title opportunity, and that leads to a breakdown in the Judgment Day. I think that's where they're heading. Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. Also, it's kind of weird to me that they're putting a AAA title match in Raw, of all places, but I don't know. I guess we gotta market AAA because WWE owns AAA, so whatever.
Yeah, we do. We do. Need to market it.
Yeah.
Too many events,
True.
man. Too many events nowadays.
I mean, Triple Mania is 2 days long, man. It's no longer just 1 day.
You got the Raw. You got Raw, NXT, AAA, SmackDown. Your Saturday night's main event. You have the AAA pay-per-views. You have the WWE pay-per-views. You have the NXT pay-per-views. It's way too much. You got Speed. You got the
Who watches Speed?
The regular main event, not Saturday night's main event, like just the regular main event. I don't know. It's way too much stuff, man.
I don't think a lot of people watch that. Honestly, it's like the collision of WWE. If you're an AEW fan listening to this somehow, but yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, and it's not great. But I guess this is the price you pay for being a wrestling fan. Haha. But anyway, we'll move on from the state of the industry, I suppose, to
the main event, which is Roman Reigns, comes out and addresses Jacob Fatu and how he will deal with him. So Roman calls out Jacob Fatu and says that Jacob is not helping the family like he's supposed to do. He is his tribal chief, and Jacob needs to learn this. Clearly, beating him once didn't work. So Roman says that he will either beat acknowledgement into Jacob Fatu or he will kill him outright. I know, crazy stuff. And Roman says he'll do this at Clash in Italy, not in Hell in a Cell, not in a street fight, but he will fight Jacob Fatu in a Bloodline Rules match. Yes, buddy.
Okay.
We're doing this again. I think they're gonna they're trying to tease the Bloodline coming back. The Usos maybe look a little bit confused as to why Roman is doing this because the Bloodline really isn't a thing anymore. Jacob Fatu then runs into the ring from ringside trying to attack Roman, but the Usos and Roman manage to fend him off and they stand tall. So I think what they're going to go for is this will they, won't they storyline with Roman potentially reforming the Bloodline.
Okay. Huh. So, I can kind of agree, I suppose, with them trying to reform the Bloodline, but it feels to me like if they are trying to reform the Bloodline, that's just like creative malpractice, in my opinion, because you're going back to the well. This is kind of like when in WCW terms, the NWO 2000, if you can remember that was, sort of going back to the well and seeing what sticks. I feel like if they did the same thing with the Bloodline, it would not work. So I think a new faction with Jacob Fatu and the Usos, which I think is what they're trying to lead towards, would be a better option than let's redo the whole Bloodline thing again with Roman and the Usos. So I don't know. So you don't see Jacob Fatu eventually holding the title at this point, right? I think this. You think there's going to be a rematch? Yeah.
I know, Brian, I think you said previously that they might, turn and help Jacob Fatu. The reason I say this is Roman has been pulled for a number of dates between now and SummerSlam. I think what happens in this match is Roman gets written off. Whether or not he loses the title, I don't know. I don't think he does. I think this ends with maybe like a double count out or something, where Roman is written off TV for a while, and then he comes back at SummerSlam.
Oh, so you're gonna have Roman come back at SummerSlam, basically, after the Clash in Italy.
Yes.
Okay. And you will still have him be the champion, right?
50-50 at this point. It could be Jacob Fatu.
Okay.
But I think more... I'm actually leaning like 70-30 Roman.
All right.
Yeah.
And, so, over on SmackDown, and yeah, this does smell like a SmackDown question, but it is kind of related, I guess. But over on SmackDown, you have Solo Sikoa and Royce Keys kind of being involved in the Tongan business. Do you see the MFT sort of interfering in the Roman business eventually? Or do you see, I guess, Royce Keys maybe intervening?
No, I think they stay on SmackDown.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Solo gets involved in the Bloodline at any point soon. So
yeah, especially now that 3/5 of the group is gone. So, oh well. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely see how that bodes for Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. I think it's an interesting rivalry. I mean, they could pull some history between the two men that could be captivating television, but we shall see. We shall see. And that is what we got for what we think will happen on the next episode of Monday Night Raw. And as I said, we will be watching the next episode of Monday Night Raw when it does drop. And we will score our predictions and bookings based on what we have here on the new scoring system and our bookings here. And then we will tell you what we got on the next episode of this here show. So until then, thank you for ordering a slice of Probably Next Week on Raw from Grapperinos. And remember, if you're down for some fresh, oven-baked, crispy wrestling content, stop by Grapperinos and order yourself some content you can grapple with. See you next time, everybody.